The other day I was cutting through one of the housing developments, and a guy had one of those wheels that's on the end of a stick, and it's used for measuring square footage for, like, if you're going to get your driveway repaved. Some guys use it along the ground while looking up at the roof, and then they can figure out how big the roof is to figure out how many shingles they need to charge. And it's got it's got an indicator on it on how far in sometimes in revolutions, and sometimes it has mileage. Sometimes it has a meter, metric meters. So I'm walking along, and this guy pulls this out of the trunk of the car, and I'm like, "Oh man!" And I start talking to him. I said, "Dude, you're giving me flashbacks." And he goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, when I first quit working, I went down to the park every day, and then it was Breslin Park, Lyndhurst, New Jersey, and there's a ball field you walked around. Then you went down a road along the river, the Passaic River, and then you get to the end, it just ends. So you do a dozy-do, and you come back up, and you go to the opposite side of the circle and to a starting point. And I believe it was a half mile, whatever the distance was. So I would walk 6 miles every day, and I knew how long the field was, how many laps I had to take, and I like to daydream or think, and I didn't like keeping track how far I was walking. I just wanted to do 6 miles, think about my problems, think about things I wanted to do. So I got this idea of getting a pedometer, and at that time I realized that I think the name of the place was Hofritz. They sold knives in the mall, and they had this pedometer, and I bought it and I put it on my side. And there's instructions with it. You have to take 12 steps, 12 normal walking steps, and then you put a chalk line on the ground. You do 12 steps, normal steps. And then you put another chalk mark. You measure the distance between the two chalk marks, and you take the distance, you divide it by 3, and then the footage on the side here, there's a gauge. You click this, and that sets the stride. Now, these things aren't real accurate, but I'm in the park, and I have this on my side, and you have these old men. They had the senior citizen center there, and I go by, and one guy ran out, and he grabs me, physically grabs me. He starts screaming at me that his doctor says he has to start walking or he's going to die. And he started calling me a tree hugger and all this crap because he didn't want to do the walking. Died 2 weeks later. I'm not kidding you. Because I see the one guy, and he goes, "You remember that guy that ran out and grabbed you and called you a tree hugger?" I said, "Yeah, he died. The doctor told me he would die, and he did." I was like, "Good. I don't have to put up with him anymore." But in other words, as I'm walking around, some of those other guys got nervous that maybe they should start walking. So there I am. What was I? I was 37 years old, and I'm walking this park, and some of these guys, they start deciding they want to walk with me. And they looked down, they said, "What's that thing?" I said, "Well, that's just to keep track of how far I walk." I said, "I do 6 miles and then I go home. And some days I'll do an extra lap, depending on what the mood I'm in, but I go down there to do 6 miles. If it starts to rain, I would stop under a pavilion and sit for a while. And if it let up, I would finish the walk. I wouldn't give up. And what it did, it used to calm me down. I used to get hyper. When you don't work and you have the whole day off, you get a little hyper. By walking, it calmed me down. While I was walking, I would think of all the things I had to do and in the order I would do it. And well, anyway, I'd get my day laid out early in the morning doing this walk. Well, these old guys started walking with me. "What's that thing on your side?" I said, "It's a pedometer." "Well, what does a pedometer do?" I said, "It measures my stride, how many times, how many strides, and then it does mileage and all that." Well, where did you get it? I want you to get me one. Who are you? Well, I don't know. Yeah, you're helpless without your wife. That's what you are. So, well, where did you get it? Hoffert's in the mall. Oh, I don't know what Hoffert's is. So anyway, I explained to him right by the escalators. He knew what I was. I said, go over there. So the next day he shows up with the thing. Well, I didn't know how to set it. Of course, old people don't know how to do anything. The instructions are at a fourth grade level. So I said to the guy, you take 12 strides, 12 steps, you measure that. So I did it for him. So now all the other guys that sit there, same crap. Well, you told him where to get that, but he won't tell. It became a whole nonsensical bullshit thing. What I should have done was gone somewhere else to walk. But the Breslin Field, when you go down there, there's parking spaces for the tennis court. You pull in, you park your car, and then you get on the circuit and walk whatever it was. I think it was a half mile around, whatever it was. So it became a thing. So now these guys, they're walking behind me. You're walking too fast. We're trying to keep up with you. And I'm like, I want to be there and get my walk in. So I try to help them. Well, each one of them's a different size. And like two of the guys refuse to do the instructions because they're stupid. So mine's not matching his. Oh my God. So, and then they start arguing how far around it is. So this other guy that I know, he says, he goes, watch what I do. I said, what? He goes, he had one of those wheels. And he comes down in the dark with that wheel and he goes around the park and he measures, I think he did every 500 feet or every 250 feet. And he uses a stencil for the numbers. And, he puts down like eighth of a mile, quarter of a mile, half mile, whatever it was, going all the way around. And he has arrows, so you can't cheat. So the next day I go down there and I see this on the ground. I'm laughing. I said, this is going to be hysterical. And these guys, they're walking around and they're actually holding up the pedometer on their belt. And they're bumping into each other, bumbling idiots. And they're bothering me. I said, I'm very happy with my pedometer. I know when I've done the 6 miles, I go home. Well, my pedometer doesn't match the markings. The markings are wrong. I said, I don't really care. I said, I met a guy. He's got this wheel, and he wheeled it along, and he said he was going to do that. And, they wanted to know who he was. I said, nah, just somebody I started talking to. I don't know who he was. I knew who he was. I just learned to avoid these guys. And, a lot of them would start walking, and they do it one day, and I'm going to come back here every day. They don't. And then you get the one or two diehards that every time I'm walking by, I had headphones on and music, and I'm like, look, I'm just down here to walk. I'm not socializing with an old guy because they're stupid. Some old people that are really smart, they don't sit in a circle of other idiots like that. The guy, you're a tree hugger. My doctor said if I don't walk, I'll die, and then he did. So I'm trying to stay calm. I knew the girl that did the bathroom stare. She died. Anyway, they're all dead now. But she'd say to them, they're really bad. She says, they have a senior center here. And they come over and get her and they try to get her to do stuff that has nothing to do with what her job is because she's union. And they don't understand that. But they're all in unions. That's what's amazing about these old farts. And that's what they were. And I'm trying not to become one of those people. And it was amazing that that guy put those marks down. They're not right. What does it matter? All right. For the person that knows, it's approximate. Now with the wheel, it's very accurate. He had a pavement wheel. It's used for doing highways. He told me what it was. He was in construction. This was the real wheel. And he just said, watch what it does. And it was pretty funny. But these guys would walk once. But they make such a, they keep stopping, and I have the headphones on. They grab me and physically hold me. So I took the headphones off, and then they go out with their nonsense. But it was so funny. When I was walking through that development, that guy had that wheel. And I start telling him, and then he says, "You don't seem." I told him I'm 70. He says, "You don't seem like you're 70." I said, "Well, I try to keep up with the latest things." I said, "Most people by 50, they no longer understand anything. They don't want to learn anything new. I'm that guy. I'll read about anything just so when I bump into someone, I can understand what the hell they're talking about. Where other people, they want the world to come to them, and that's what these guys were. They're retired, and they all were union jobs. There were companies that in New Jersey closed down, like Otis Elevator, Western Electric, and they just did the same job every day for years. Now, the one guy, he only oxidized doors for elevators, for Otis Elevator. He oxidized a pair of doors once a month, but he was in the union. So he would walk around annoying people at work, because I met other people that knew him. They said, "That guy's a pain in the ass." I said, "Well," "I'm down here walking, and then later on, I met this girl, Noreen, and Noreen could walk 6 miles, and both her feet, yes, would come off the pavement at one time. And we would walk together, and I'd walk high speed. My feet used to bleed. That's when I got into Nike socks, and I started getting into better socks so I could walk further. You have to have socks that inside they have like fluff, and that wicks the water away from your feet. And that was a big breakthrough. But she'd be walking, I'd be walking with her, and the reason she walked with me, she was really good looking, and men would just come up to her and proposition her in the park. And then at some point, when I started walking with her, they left her alone. And when the occasional guy would still try to walk our speed to proposition her, she turned her head and she taught me, when I turn my head and look in your eyes, I want you to start running. So some of these real heavy set guys would come out of their car and time it so they could walk up and start asking her out for a date or whatever. And she would turn, look in my eyes, and I had to run a quarter mile. I think that lap, around that lap might have been a mile. Anyway, I had to now run a quarter, and she got me to start running. I was kind of heavy at the time, but I had such a good time walking with her, and our speed was so fast. The old people started leaving us alone. I won't go into some of the people. You get to know them, and they walk for so many months. They quit smoking. They walk for so many months. They get really good at walking. They go on vacation and start smoking again. Then they come back and they're walking with me, and they got to keep stopping. And I know it's because I could smell it on them that they started smoking again, and they can't. My socks. They're adjusting their socks. So finally, the one guy just said, "Look, I know you started smoking again. You don't understand how hard it is to quit smoking." I said, "Look, dude, you're walking too slow." I said, "I walk with Noreen now. That's it. Oh, you won't. No, I won't. I won't walk with you. If she's not here, I'm not going to walk with you. I got my speed now. I get my 6 miles done. I go home. I don't need your nonsense. But it's amazing with men when they retire how dopey they become. They don't want to learn anything new when they're working, and then they do something once a year and they talk about it like they go every week. And I avoid them. I basically had that last guy I walked with. He was doing the same thing to me. "Well, I don't want to walk today. It's too windy. It's too cold. It's too cloudy." And I said, "Look, dude, this is my walk. You asked me to come walking with me. Well, I want you to start walking at 1 o'clock in the afternoon." I said, "Not going to happen." And I start telling them, back in New Jersey, these men in the park pulled the same crap. This one guy started walking with me. He quit smoking. He wanted to become a walker. And then, "Well, I can't get down here till 11 o'clock. You got to come down here at 11. I said, "Look, I come down here as soon as the sun comes up, and I go for a walk, and then I go back, and there's things I have to do." And he's like, "Well, it's not convenient for me." Well, dude, it's my walk. You're asking to walk with me. And that's what it becomes. Now with Noreen, I just enjoyed walking with her. She was really good looking. And the other thing with Noreen was, she said, "I can't get pregnant." And she was a lot older than she said she was. But anyway, I said, "Look, every time I have a pseudo wife," and she was looking at me, I said, "Yeah, a woman that I just hang with." and they tell me they can't get pregnant. I said, you get pregnant within a month. So one day we're down there walking, and she got pregnant, and she's telling me, and we walked every day while she was pregnant. Her water broke at the pizzeria, and she had the baby. The baby come right out within like 4 minutes, something like that. She shot the baby out. She comes back the next day to show everybody at the park the baby. And the people are like, that baby looks just like you. I said, well, the father's German. I said, the baby's got that big round German head. I said, yeah. But they're like, no, but it really does look like you. I said, look, she's just a friend of mine that I like walking with. But it was so funny. Her mother-in-law bought her a baby stroller, and I told her to get the ones with the big wheels because she could really walk. And she bought this Graco, whatever. She kept wearing the wheels out, called the company up. They kept sending her wheels. So finally, I had her get a can of WD-40, which I realize now wasn't really a lubricant, but it really worked. In other words, she sprayed the wheels, they didn't wear out. She was wearing the wheels out on the axles, doing the 6 miles every day. Plus, I think she'd come back at night a second time. That girl could really walk. And I lost a lot of weight walking with her. But I think of her, and I think about those old men. But boy, when that guy took that wheel out, it was yellow too. It was like in construction. Anytime you're around highways, even the picking tools for picking the garbage up, they're usually orange, so you have visibility. And this guy brought this big yellow wheel stick out of the, and I tell him, he does Christmas lights, and he puts it down on the ground, and he wheels it along. He's starting to explain that. I said, that's the same way you do the roofs. He says, yeah. I said, I know all about the wheel, and then I go into telling him the story. But some of the people you run into in life, you got to be careful because they'll make your walk their walk. So lately, when someone says, I want to start walking with you, not going to happen. And if you keep bothering me, I'm going to tell you every story of every person that wanted to walk with me. And then they go, well, I can't make it today at 10. We got to go 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Or, it's too cold for me today. It's too windy. I had to go ring the guy's doorbell, and he was sleeping on the couch. That's another story. And he'd come over, I don't know if I'm going to walk today. It's kind of windy out there. And yeah, he's dead. I've outlived almost everybody that I know. Even here, 50% of the people I met when I got here have either died or moved away. I think that's it. That's it.